Robert Tellis, the former Clark County administrator who was now charged and found guilty with murdering Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter Jeff German. Well, obviously guilty. Sentencing? Not exactly what we expected. Joining me to discuss, it is Bob Motta, host of the podcast Defense Diaries and defense attorney. Bob, honestly, this morning, I know the jury came in late last night with their verdict, and it was the first thing I looked at this morning. I'm like, what was the sentence? I read it wrong. I thought because it was, my eyes are glossy. I'm like, oh, life without the possibility of parole. No, not so much. Not so
Not
much.
so much. Not so much. It was same. I woke up and my buddy over at Law and Crime, Michael Bryant, was texting me. He's like, so after Law and Crime went off air, that I guess one of the producers talked to a couple of the jurors, and apparently they were stuck. Two of the jurors were stuck on the hair picture.
Oh,
like
geez.
that. Like two of the jurors that actually sold them that it wasn't him, that person in that vehicle had hair, to the extent where it sounds like it was a compromised verdict, which bared itself out in the sense that at sentencing, they gave him 20 years to life. So that means that after his 20th year, he can actually apply for parole. So in theory, he could be out in 20 years.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy for
this
a brutal homicide like that.
This proves exactly, what you always say. What I'm always saying is there is no such thing as a slam dunk case. This one really felt like it would have been, but literally the idiot putting on a wig somehow made some jurors think it wasn't him. God,
unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Like with DNA under the fingernails, the shoe cut up in the house, the hat, the bag. It's like, yeah, we say it all the time, man. You never know what a jury's going to do. You just never know.
I feel bad for anybody in those two jurors' lives because I'm guessing these are people who don't make the best of decisions in general.
I mean, man, that's
if you're buying that, these are the folks who are buying like the stamps and the coins and the plates late at night on television, thinking there's some sort of commemorative thing that will be there forever, and in reality, their kids are just going to throw them away the moment they die. That's the type of person
you're saying my collector plates are going to get tossed.
I'm sorry.
That's a bummer.
I'm sorry, Bob. They're not collectible. They're for you. I'm glad they make you feel good that you have, all of the presidents and an eagle, eating, flags and fireworks going off in the background and the Twin Towers and, everything. America. And it just says America right across. I'm sorry. They're not worth anything. I know you spent 10 easy payments of $29.99. But
I consider you a true friend for breaking that news to me. So thank you for that.
Hey, sometimes you just got to hear reality.
Hey, man, got to rip that Band-Aid off, dude, at some point.
But my God, this couldn't. I still don't understand his theory. I don't the conspiracy theory. I really don't quite grasp how it all works. Did you ever get a full grasp on what he was meaning by the realty firm wanting to frame him and to kill Jeff German? It always didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Part of the problem for him was that, as you know, I can't remember if we recorded before or after he did his narrative direct, wherein his lawyer did not question him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just able to get on the stand and tell a story.
Yeah.
Like that's obviously something that happens all the time when you have a pro se defendant, somebody who's representing themselves. It's not quite as frequent when you have a lawyer, but what that tells you is that his lawyer communicated to the court, like without saying it. Like you can't destroy privilege by going up and telling the judge, oh, well, my client's about to get on the stand and lie. But, it was definitely communicated to the judge that, look, I'm in a position where there's certain questions that I cannot ask my client. And if you're going to force me to do that, I'm going to have to make a like emotional withdrawal, which it's a mistrial, or because I think you're going to have to grant it. So ultimately, I think they were that deep into the trial. They ultimately said, "All right," and the state was like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
And the state's going to be like, "This guy's going to sit up there and talk for an hour and a half. That's awesome."
Yes.
We'll give him as much rope as he wants to take to hang himself. And so that thing goes down. And from what I gather, the overarching concept is that, like when he's in office, he's got this beef going with Compass Mortgage, wherein he realizes that their Compass is pulling some shady stuff with respect to the properties, because basically, if somebody dies intestate, meaning without a will, the property goes into the hands of the state unless somebody else in the family wants to, handle the estate. So in those situations, it sounded like Compass was getting their hands on some of these properties, and that they were buying them for undervalue and then turning around sometimes in the same day and selling them for a profit far above what they bought it for, $50,000-$60,000. And then he caught him doing this multiple times. He said to like the tune of like $6 million, which to Compass Mortgage, which is a $1 billion net worth corporation, wouldn't be anything. It's a drop in the bucket. They'd write it off as like the loss is bad debt or whatever the case may be, even though it wasn't a loss. So at some point, Tejas' story or Tellis' story is like, look, like the woman that's running against me in the election, I found out that Compass had donated to her campaign, contributed to her campaign.
Okay.
So they're basically trying to say, all right, we want this guy out. So that's when it starts to become evident to him that Compass Mortgage really has it out for him. And then when the stories come out, like in his theory, I think that it was that Compass was providing Garmin with information. All right. So it then becomes this thing where Compass Mortgage hires a hitman or an assassin to go and frame up Tellis for the death of Garmin, because they know that he will be the suspect because of all the stories that have come out and ruined his political career. So the big gaping hole that I kept waiting for is like, okay. And apparently there was a cop that had worked for Compass Mortgage at one point. Okay. So that's his link to, that's how the cops get involved to framing him up. So it's like you have the hitman hired by Compass Mortgage, and then this I'm assuming a realtor with Compass Mortgage who was formerly a cop or was still a cop somehow talks some of his cop buddies into joining in on this frame up and like, look, hey man, you need to look that way for 1 second. I'm going to tuck this cut up shoe under this chair here. So look, man, I can't make any sense of it either, but from what I gathered from the story, and again, because his lawyer wasn't the one really putting forth this theory, that's all we're ever going to get. We're going to get that weird, incomplete story, because his lawyer, frankly, just leaned into reasonable doubt. He's just trying to pick apart.
Why would they go after? Why would they care about Tellis? And if he's going to be out of office, he has nothing to do with anything anymore.
That's what Hamner's arguing. Like prosecutor Hamner, who I love, like he looks exactly like Rob Schneider. I can't like I'm sitting there looking at him like I call him Rob Schneider cuter, but I love him, man. He's like a really like just a straight talking. He actually reminds me a lot of a defense attorney more than kind of a buttoned up prosecutor. He's just that kind of guy. And that's what he's saying. He's like, why? He's like, why in the world you were a lame duck candidate? Like why? Like you were out.
Yeah.
They had already won. They had contributed to your opponent's campaign. She won the election. You're done in like 3 months. They like, what do they care?
Yeah.
You're out of their lives. and they obviously don't really have. He didn't have an answer for that, So it's like the concept of it is
and he somehow twisted the hitman, that the hitman would want to draw attention to themselves if he was trying to frame someone.
Listen.
Like in any case, a hitman's not going to try and draw attention to themselves.
All right. So like that part of it, and that came out during Cross, when Hamner was crossing him, and he's like, so let me just get this straight. So what you're saying is that a professional hitman intentionally drove so that so that the vehicle would be seen on the video.
Yeah.
And Tellez starts to spit it out, but he's like, yeah, my concept is that they're trying to frame me up. So they went and they bought the same vehicle that I own. So it then became very important for them to make sure that I'm seen on video. He's like, but wait a second. He's like, so they took all the effort, the assassin took all the effort to park a block or blocks away, walk over to the crime scene, and then at some point, they're like, oh, man, I forgot something, or I got to go back to the crime scene. They then drive back, but they have to make sure that the car is seen on video, the Tahoe's seen on video. And he's like, yes. He's like, look, if I'm a professional hitman and I am going to try to kill somebody, I'm not going to pull up right in front of the house. Once the job was done, so like I have to come in surreptitiously. So if I'm the hitman, so I'm going to park far away. I'm going to walk over so that I'm undetected, like as if somebody would know that was Tellez's car, that this person was a hitman if they parked on the street.
Yeah.
But then I have to come back and make sure that they see it so that the frame up is perfected, so that they know they have a hint, they have a clue of how to come after me, and they'll have some evidence. So
we're going to throw this evidence in the house.
The bottom line is, instead of just killing Tellez or Tellez, and that was the first thing.
Why wouldn't they kill Tellez if they hated Tellez? Or if they don't want
that's what Hamner said.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just kill you?
Yeah. Why would you go after the reporter?
Poor Jeff Garman. Like, why suck him into it? So it was a crazy case, and it's like you said, it seemed like a foregone conclusion. And I always respect when a jury is going to go back and do their job and deliberate. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. We shouldn't be cheering hour-long convictions, in terms of deliberations. Like, it's not the way the system's built. They're really supposed to go back there and challenge the evidence and have meaningful discussions, and like we have all these cases where it's like, oh, well, that's a no-brainer. Like that, like they'll be back in an hour. Right? Like I'm guilty of it myself.
I said the same thing. I'm like,
I've been practicing forever, not just about Tellez, but like all kinds of cases. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is gonna take forever. I mean, like, or this is gonna be as quick as day. But I'm always leaning toward hung juries. I'm like, oh, they're gonna be hung. They're gonna be hung on it. Not on this case. I did not think they were gonna be hung on this case. Yeah. So I mean, it's a surprising result. In a lot of ways.
I mean, I think a lot of this just ended up not even being about his office and what he was doing and being exposed. I think it comes down to being pissed off about the affair being exposed. I think it's a very personal thing, and he was going to try and rely more on business and those sort of things and not go any deeper. He certainly did not like talking about the affair on the stand. Right. And there was a tell of Tellez I noticed in this trial when he talked about the affair and when he talked about the murder. When he said affair, he kind of like whispered it, like, if I say it quieter, or people aren't going to hear me. Same with when he talked about the murder. He's like, I would not kill him. It became this kind of, it was like, oh, he gives this delivery on things he doesn't want to be caught on, but he knows he is. Like, the affair, the murder, it was a something that he was portraying that I don't think he even realized he was doing. But
and Hamner in his rebuttal closing pointed that out, like that weird phrasing that he would use. He's like, it's like when I asked him if he killed Garman, instead of just saying, no, I did not kill him, he would say, I would like to think that I wouldn't kill him. I'm like, that's not the same.
No, it's
not. You just saying I didn't do it. you're saying I would like to think that I wouldn't kill him. I'm like,
You'd like to think, or does the other side of you just do it? And you're like, oh, I'd
right,
like to think I wouldn't do it, but the evil me does.
man.
Oh my
Like,
God.
yeah, just an unhinged guy, man. It's like it was just the culmination of everything falling apart for him. Because I don't know, in and of itself, like losing the election would have been that big of a deal. I don't imagine that the salary for a PA for a public administrator is huge. You know what I mean?
But it's the
Like
shame.
he's a licensed attorney.
Yeah, it's the
It was
shame,
it
though.
was the shame part of it. It was the fact that he had outed the affair, and then he was still coming at him. Like
Yeah.
the fifth article was going to be all about
Uh-huh.
the affair.
Yeah.
Exclusively.
I mean, I think, it's that. It's Siobhan Scott, psychotherapist who we have on quite a bit. Yesterday we were talking about this case, and I learned a new term about narcissism, narcissistic collapse, where basically they're in a corner. There's no way of talking out of it, which they normally find a way to do even under the most absurd situations. I mean, look, he's trying to talk his way out of this, but there were certain things he couldn't talk his way out of. The affair, and the wrongdoings in his office. There was just no other way to do it, and he was being held to the fire with no way out. And that's where you get a person lashing. It's like an animal almost. It's a very archaic way of thinking, where you can have the loveliest of pets in the world, the most loving, but if you back them into a corner and they feel threatened that they're going to be hurt in some way, they will attack you. And I just think him not having the ability to emotionally regulate himself and then finding justification in that because it's everybody else's fault, not him. If you go to the nitty gritty of what's going on in this guy's mind, let's watch one piece of the closing arguments from the prosecution. This is, I just think, one of the most powerful pieces. And this is where, at the end of the day, I'm like, was the jury not paying attention? Were those two not paying attention that they missed this piece? Let's take a look at that.
And here's the thing that struck me when I took over this case. I would submit to most people, probably before ever hearing about this case, had no idea what a public administrator was. He is not a U.S. senator. He is not a governor. He is not a congressperson. He is a duly elected official who manages an office of approximately 8 people. And their job is to assist people who pass away, who don't leave a will and leave property behind. The public administrator's office is not at the forefront of everyone's mind in this community. No one learns about this until who brings the office to light? Jeff Gehrman. And what's amazing is if you believe that story about this conspiracy, all of these people and all of these entities were willing to sacrifice their reputation, their business, their police department, even the public administrator's office. They're all willing to put it on the line to kill a reporter, to get that guy, even though he's leaving in 3 months. Does that make a shred of sense? Absolutely not. But what it does give you a window into is what's in his mind. That is how important Mr. Tellis views himself. That every single one of these people, every single one of these entities were literally willing to kill another human being who is not him just to frame him.
That guy? Why the hell would anybody want to do anything of risk for that guy?
That guy.
That guy. That thing over there that looks like the toy we had as a child that we would put magnets on and make him have hair. That guy.
Yeah, he does. He does look like that guy. I kept calling him he really, if you pull up a picture of Casper, the friendly ghost, like he's Casper the murdery ghost. Like there's a couple of Caspers but that dude, he does look. I know exactly what you're talking about. The little red magnet.
Yep.
That you would put the little. Yeah, oh my god.
He's that guy. He's also Charlie McCarthy if you put a hat on him in a suit.
Yeah, he is. He is. That's so funny. Yeah, man. I mean, like, That's what I'm saying. Like Hamner's, I thought rebuttal closing was great.
Yeah.
You know, he's just caught. It's almost like when you're listening to him, you're kind of like sitting in a bar with some dude holding court about,
It was
just
great.
like how ridiculous this theory is. I really like his style a lot, and he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like conceptually, all those things have to be true, and it really does shine a light on just how important Lil Bobby Tellis thinks he actually is.
Oh my God. Well, and he's walking away going, "Thank God I bought that wig," because that's the one thing that saved him from a life without the possibility of parole. Doesn't mean he'll get parole.
Some of my viewers were saying it was one of those. Have you seen the hoodies that have the wig on the top, or like kind of like the Guy Fieri type hairdo? Some people were like, we think it might have been that. Or I mean,
it's like, look, the guy basically put on a Halloween costume to go and commit a murder. Why is it beyond the purview of anybody to think he wouldn't put on a wig as well? I mean, that's a bridge too far.
It would almost be insane to think that he didn't.
Yes,
put on a wig.
It's like, of course he did. Why?
Yeah,
of course he did.
Right.
Oh, like I'd love to talk to those jurors, but I'm of a feeling they're coming out of this going, oh. Maybe we were off. Maybe. I don't know. Unless they're like Robert Tellis and they're just like, no, what we said is right. I don't know.
Right.
But
I mean,
yeah.
You never know. You never know.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.